Naval Station, Norfolk, Virginia, 7 p.m. on a Tuesday evening. The main gymnasium buzzes with the usual post-duty workout crowd, but tonight something feels different. The rhythmic clanking of weights and steady hum of treadmills creates a familiar soundtrack, yet an unusual tension hangs in the air like humidity before a storm. 53 personnel occupy the space, 8 officers clustered near the free weights, 15 senior enlisted scattered across various machines, and 30 junior enlisted members trying to stay invisible while getting their mandatory physical training completed. The overhead fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across faces glistening with sweat and determination. In the far corner, near the rarely used sparring mats, a lone figure moves methodically between exercise machines. Vivian Carter, 31 years old, pushes a cleaning cart loaded with disinfectant spray, microfiber cloths, and paper towels. Her light gray t-shirt bears no unit insignia, no rank indicators, no military markings of any kind. Just plain civilian attire that marks her as contract cleaning staff. Her light brown hair is pulled back in a practical high bun, a few loose curls escaping to frame a face that would be beautiful if anyone bothered to look beyond the janitor uniform. She moves with quiet efficiency, wiping down equipment that moments before was slick with the sweat of sailors and Marines pushing their physical limits. Most personnel ignore her presence entirely. She's become part of the background noise, as invisible as the motivational posters on the walls or the safety equipment hanging unused in corners. Just another support staff member keeping their world clean and functional. But tonight, one person notices her. Admiral Robert Thompson stands 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighs 240 pounds of what was once solid muscle, but has softened into the comfortable bulk of a career desk officer. His bald head gleams under the gymnasium lights, and his posture carries the unconscious authority of someone who has never had his commands questioned. At 58 years old, Admiral Thompson commands Naval Station Norfolk, with the iron confidence of a man who has spent 35 years climbing the military hierarchy without ever seeing real combat. His chest displays an impressive array of ribbons, mostly administrative achievements, training completions, and time in service awards that look impressive to civilians but tell a different story to those who know how to read them. He watches Vivian with the calculating gaze of a predator selecting prey. Her quiet competence irritates him in a way he cannot articulate. Perhaps it's the way she works without seeking attention or approval. Perhaps it's how other personnel seem to respect her, despite her lowly position. Or perhaps it's simply that she represents everything his privileged worldview tells him is beneath his notice. The Admiral sets down his 45-pound dumbbells with deliberate force, the metallic clang echoing across the gymnasium floor. Conversations pause, heads turn. The atmosphere shifts as personnel recognize the signs of something about to unfold. "Attention on deck," someone calls out reflexively, though this is a gymnasium, not a formal military space requiring such protocols. Admiral Thompson raises one hand dismissively. "As you were," he says, but his voice carries across the space with unmistakable authority. "Just wondering about our cleaning situation here?" He begins walking toward Vivian with measured steps, each footfall deliberate and loud enough to announce his approach. Personnel throughout the gym stop their exercises, sensing drama about to unfold. Some continue their routines while watching from peripheral vision. Others abandon all pretense and turn to observe directly. Vivian continues her work, spraying down a leg press machine and wiping the vinyl seats with practiced motions. Her breathing remains steady and controlled. She shows no reaction to the approaching Admiral, no acknowledgement of the attention suddenly focused in her direction. Near the pull-up bars, Chief Petty Officer Williams pauses his workout routine. 28 years of naval service have given him an instinct for trouble, and every alarm bell in his experienced mind is currently ringing. Williams knows Admiral Thompson's reputation, a man who mistakes authority for leadership and confuses intimidation with command presence. The chief notices something else too, something that makes him study Vivian more carefully than he ever has before. There's something about her posture, her spatial awareness, the way she positions herself relative to potential exits and threats. Details that would escape civilian notice but stand out like neon signs to someone with his background. "Excuse me," Admiral Thompson's voice cuts through the gymnasium ambiance like a blade. "Miss Carter, is it?" Vivian looks up from her cleaning supplies, meeting his gaze with calm professionalism. "Yes, sir. How can I help you?" Her voice is pleasant, respectful, and completely unremarkable. Nothing about her tone suggests anything other than a service worker responding to a superior. Yet Chief Williams notices she doesn't avert her eyes the way most civilians do when addressed by flag-rank officers. She maintains steady eye contact without defiance or subservience. "Well, Miss Carter," Admiral Thompson's tone drips with condescending friendliness, "I couldn't help but notice you've been observing our training activities here." "I clean the equipment, sir. That requires being present during operational hours." Of course. The Admiral's smile doesn't reach his eyes. "But I notice you watching the sparring area particularly closely. Got some interest in physical fitness, do you?" Around the gymnasium, conversations have stopped entirely. Even the most dedicated athletes have abandoned their routines to watch this unexpected confrontation unfold. The tension is palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. Vivian's expression remains professionally neutral. "I ensure all areas meet sanitation standards, sir." "Sanitation standards," Admiral Thompson repeats, his voice rising slightly. "How very thorough of you." He glances around the gymnasium, playing to his audience. "Tell me, Miss Carter, do you have any actual experience with physical training? Or is watching the professionals the closest you get to real fitness?" Several junior officers near the weight bench chuckle at what they perceive as harmless ribbing. They see their commanding officer engaging in friendly banter with support staff. Nothing more threatening than a powerful man amusing himself with someone beneath his notice. But Chief Williams sees something different. He notices how Vivian's stance hasn't changed despite the implied insult. Most civilians would shift their weight, look away, or show some sign of discomfort when challenged by a flag officer. Vivian remains perfectly balanced, feet shoulder-width apart, ready to move in any direction. "I maintain my own fitness standards, sir," she responds evenly. "Your own standards?" Admiral Thompson's laugh is loud and theatrical. "How interesting! And what exactly might those standards be? Daily walks around the base? Lifting cleaning supplies?" The chuckles from his audience grow louder. Personnel who moments ago were focused on their own training now form an impromptu circle around the developing situation. The gymnasium's acoustics amplify every word, ensuring no one misses the Admiral's performance. "I meet all requirements for my position, sir." "Requirements for your position," he repeats mockingly, "which involve pushing a mop and wiping down equipment." His voice grows louder, more theatrical. "Tell me, Miss Carter, do you think that qualifies you to understand anything about real military fitness? About the standards we maintain here?" Vivian continues cleaning, her movements unchanged by the Admiral's escalating tone. She sprays disinfectant on a rowing machine handle and wipes it down with the same methodical precision she's maintained throughout the confrontation. But Chief Williams notices something else, something that makes his blood run cold. When Vivian reaches for her spray bottle, her grip is wrong. Not wrong for a janitor, but wrong for someone who's supposedly only handled cleaning supplies. Her thumb position, the way her fingers wrap around the bottle, the automatic muzzle discipline she displays even with a spray bottle. These are the unconscious habits of someone trained on tactical equipment. "I understand you have important work to do, Urs," Vivian says calmly. "I'll stay out of your way." She turns to continue her cleaning route, but Admiral Thompson isn't finished with his entertainment. "Oh, I don't think so," he says, his voice carrying across the entire gymnasium. "In fact, I think we have an excellent educational opportunity here." He looks around at his audience, ensuring he has their complete attention. 53 pairs of eyes watch his every move, hanging on his words like he's announcing combat deployments. "You see, gentlemen and ladies, we often forget how important it is to demonstrate proper military bearing and physical capability to our civilian contractors. They see us training, but they don't understand what real military fitness looks like." Several personnel exchange uncomfortable glances. The Admiral's tone suggests this is heading somewhere none of them want to witness, but their training prevents them from interrupting a flag officer. "Sir," Chief Williams ventures carefully, "perhaps we should—" "Chief, I appreciate your input, but this is actually perfect timing." Admiral Thompson's smile grows wider. "Miss Carter here has been observing our training for months. Wouldn't it be educational for her to experience firsthand what military physical standards actually require?" Vivian sets down her cleaning supplies and turns to face him directly. For the first time since the confrontation began, her full attention focuses on the Admiral. Chief Williams notices her breathing pattern shift slightly, not the rapid, shallow breathing of anxiety, but the deep, controlled respiration, of someone preparing for physical exertion. "I'm not sure what you're suggesting, sir." "I'm suggesting," Admiral Thompson says loudly enough for everyone to hear clearly, "that you might benefit from a practical demonstration of military combat training. Nothing serious, of course. Just a friendly sparring session to help you understand what real fitness looks like." The gymnasium falls completely silent. Even the background hum of ventilation systems seems muted. 53 military personnel hold their collective breath, recognizing they're witnessing something that could end very badly for everyone involved. "Sir, I don't think that's appropriate," Vivian responds quietly. "Appropriate?" Admiral Thompson's voice rises again. "Miss Carter, I'm offering you an educational opportunity, a chance to see up close what military training actually involves. Think of it as professional development." Near the bench press station, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Martinez feels sick to her stomach. She recognizes harassment when she sees it, but challenging a flag officer requires courage that could end her career. Around her, other female personnel wear expressions of barely controlled anger mixed with helpless frustration. "Besides," Admiral Thompson continues, his voice taking on a mock-reasonable tone, "I'm sure our young sailors and Marines would benefit from seeing proper technique demonstrated. It's important for them to understand the difference between civilian and military standards." He gestures toward the sparring mats with theatrical grandeur. "Simple hand-to-hand demonstration, basic defensive moves, nothing that could possibly harm someone of your background." The condescension in his voice is so thick it's almost visible. Several personnel wince at the barely veiled insult, but none dare challenge their commanding officer's behavior. "I appreciate the offer, sir, but I need to complete my cleaning duties." "Your cleaning duties can wait." Admiral Thompson's tone shifts from mock-friendly to commanding. "This is more important than mopping floors, Miss Carter. Consider it a direct request from your base commander." The words hang in the air like a threat. Everyone present understands the implications. When a flag officer makes a direct request of a civilian contractor, refusal could mean termination. Vivian's job, her steady income supporting herself and her 9-year-old daughter, hangs in the balance. Chief Williams steps forward slightly, his instincts screaming that this situation is spiraling toward disaster. But before he can intervene, something unexpected happens. $20 says she doesn't last 30 seconds, calls out Lieutenant Junior Grade Bradley Chen from near the dumbbells. "Make it 50, responds Ensign Michael Rodriguez. "I bet she starts crying before any real contact happens." The betting spreads like wildfire through the watching personnel. Admiral Thompson's face lights up with genuine pleasure as his subordinates turn the situation into entertainment. This is exactly the kind of response he was hoping for. "Gentlemen, please," he says, with mock disapproval, though his tone encourages rather than discourages the wagering. "This is an educational exercise, not a betting pool." $100 says she goes down with the first real move, shouts out Lieutenant Commander James Park. $200 says she doesn't even try to fight back, adds Chief Petty Officer David Kim. The amounts escalate rapidly as more personnel join the betting. Cash appears as sailors and Marines pull bills from wallets, their competitive nature overwhelming any ethical concerns about the situation unfolding before them. Vivian stands quietly in the center of this circus, surrounded by 53 military personnel, treating her potential humiliation as entertainment. Her expression remains calm, but Chief Williams notices her hands have moved to a position that would allow instant access to anything on her cleaning cart. Not the unconscious gesture of someone seeking comfort items, but the deliberate positioning of someone conducting a tactical assessment. "Well, Miss Carter," Admiral Thompson says, spreading his arms wide to encompass the enthusiastic crowd, "it seems we have quite an audience for your education. Shall we proceed to the mats?" He begins walking toward the sparring area with confident strides, expecting her to follow like an obedient dog. The crowd parts before him, creating a clear path to the designated combat zone. Vivian remains motionless for several long seconds, her green eyes scanning the faces surrounding her. She sees excitement, anticipation, discomfort, and in a few cases, genuine concern. But nowhere does she see someone willing to stand up and challenge what's happening, except for Chief Williams, who catches her eye and gives an almost imperceptible shake of his head. His expression clearly communicates, "Don't do this. Walk away. Whatever consequences come from refusing, they're better than what he's planning." But Vivian also sees the female personnel watching with barely controlled anger and helpless frustration. She sees junior enlisted members who recognize harassment but lack the rank to challenge it. She sees a system that allows abuse of power to masquerade as entertainment. "Very well, sir," she says quietly, her voice carrying clearly across the silent gymnasium. "If you believe it would be educational—" A cheer goes up from the betting crowd as she begins walking toward the sparring mats. Admiral Thompson's grin widens with each step, anticipating the easy victory that will cement his dominance over this lowly civilian contractor. But as Vivian approaches the designated area, Chief Williams notices something that makes his trained eye go wide with alarm. Her gait has changed. Gone is the shuffling walk of a tired janitor finishing a long shift. In its place is the precise, controlled movement of someone who knows exactly how to use every muscle in their body. The sparring area consists of thick blue mats surrounded by mirrors that reflect the fluorescent lighting. Motivational posters cover the walls, featuring slogans about honor, courage, and commitment that seem ironically appropriate for what's about to unfold. Admiral Thompson removes his Naval Academy class ring and sets it carefully on a nearby bench, a gesture designed to demonstrate his seriousness about the upcoming educational exercise. He performs a few basic stretches, his movements displaying the stiffness of someone whose physical training consists mainly of mandatory fitness tests. "Now then, Miss Carter," he says loudly enough for everyone to hear, "I want you to understand that this is purely instructional. I'll demonstrate basic defensive positions and simple takedown techniques, nothing that should cause you any actual harm." He assumes what he believes is a proper fighting stance, though Chief Williams recognizes it as the awkward posture of someone whose hand-to-hand combat training stopped after basic academy courses 20 years ago. "The key to military close-quarters combat," Admiral Thompson continues, playing to his audience, "is understanding leverage and body mechanics, something that requires years of training and natural athletic ability." Vivian stands quietly on the opposite side of the mat, her posture completely relaxed. To most observers, she looks like a deer caught in headlights, frozen with fear at the prospect of physical confrontation with a man twice her size. But Chief Williams sees something different. He sees the balanced stance of someone who knows exactly where their center of gravity lies. He sees the loose shoulders and flexed knees of someone ready to move explosively in any direction. Most importantly, he sees the calm breathing of someone who has been in this position many times before. "The first lesson," Admiral Thompson announces, "involves basic wrist control. Miss Carter, please extend your right arm." She complies without hesitation, holding her arm out as instructed. Admiral Thompson grasps her wrist with both hands, demonstrating his superior strength and reach advantage. "As you can see," he tells his audience, "proper grip and leverage allow a trained military professional to control an untrained civilian with minimal effort." He applies pressure to her wrist, expecting her to wince or struggle against his hold. Instead, Vivian remains perfectly still, showing no sign of discomfort despite his firm grip. "Now, the basic escape technique," Admiral Thompson continues, "requires understanding anatomy and physics, something that takes considerable training to master." He begins to demonstrate what he believes is a proper takedown technique, using his size advantage to force Vivian toward the mat. His movements are telegraphed and clumsy, relying on brute strength rather than technique. For several seconds, Vivian allows herself to be pushed around, maintaining the appearance of helpless resistance that Admiral Thompson expects. The betting crowd cheers as their predictions seem to be coming true. But Chief Williams notices that her struggle is completely controlled. She's not fighting back. She's studying, learning Admiral Thompson's balance points, his rhythm, his weaknesses, like a scientist gathering data before conducting an experiment. "And that," Admiral Thompson says triumphantly as he forces her down to one knee, "is how basic leverage works in real military combat." The crowd erupts in cheers and catcalls. Money changes hands as early betting markers are settled. Admiral Thompson basks in the adulation, his ego fed by the easy domination of someone he perceives as helpless. But at the moment of his greatest confidence, when his grip on her wrist is firmest and his balance most committed to the takedown, Vivian Carter makes her move. The hip toss happens so fast that most observers miss the actual technique. 1 second, Admiral Thompson is in complete control, demonstrating his superiority to an appreciative audience. The next second, he's airborne, his 240 pounds of bulk flying through space in a perfect arc that ends with him hitting the mat hard enough to knock the wind from his lungs. Complete silence fills the gymnasium. 53 people stare in shock at the impossible scene before them. Admiral Robert Thompson, base commander and 35-year veteran, lies on his back gasping for air while Vivian Carter stands calmly beside him, not even breathing hard from the exertion. The hip toss itself was textbook perfect, a technique that requires years of training to master and split-second timing to execute. But more than that, it was the movement of someone who has used such techniques in life-or-death situations, someone for whom close-quarters combat is as natural as breathing. Admiral Thompson struggles to his feet, his face red from embarrassment and lack of oxygen. "What the hell was that?" he wheezes. "Hip toss, sir," Vivian responds matter-of-factly. "Basic defensive technique," but her words are lost as the building's emergency alarm system suddenly wails to life, drowning out all conversation with its urgent electronic shriek. Red warning lights begin flashing throughout the gymnasium as a computerized voice echoes from speakers mounted on the walls. "Medical emergency, Building 12. Medical emergency, Building 12. Multiple casualties reported. All available medical personnel respond immediately." This is not a drill. Repeat, Medical emergency, Building 12. Multiple casualties. All available medical personnel respond immediately. Chaos erupts throughout the gymnasium as personnel scramble toward exits, driven by training that demands immediate response to emergency calls. Equipment is abandoned, conversations cut short, and the betting crowd instantly forgets their wagers in the face of real crisis. But in the midst of this chaos, something extraordinary happens that will change everything anyone thought they knew about Vivian Carter. While 53 military personnel mill around in confusion, looking to their chain of command for guidance about how to respond to an emergency outside their immediate responsibility, Vivian Carter transforms. Her voice cuts through the alarm noise with startling clarity and unmistakable authority. "Chief Williams, establish crowd control now. Senior enlisted, form perimeter around Building 12 entrance. Junior personnel, clear main corridor for incoming medical teams." The commands are delivered with such natural authority that people begin following them before consciously realizing they're taking orders from a janitor. Chief Williams snaps to attention instinctively, his decades of training responding to the command presence in her voice. "Ma'am, yes ma'am," he responds automatically, then catches himself with confusion. Admiral Thompson stares in bewilderment as his personnel organize themselves according to instructions from someone who, moments ago, he was humiliating for entertainment. "What gives you the authority to—" "Sir, with respect, we have wounded personnel requiring immediate medical attention," Vivian interrupts, her tone professional but firm. "Crowd control and traffic management are essential for effective emergency response." She's already moving toward the gymnasium exit, her stride purposeful and confident. The shuffling gait of a tired janitor has been replaced by the precise movement of someone accustomed to leading in crisis situations. Chief Williams pulls out his secured communication device, running facial recognition protocols he's never used on civilian personnel before. Something about Vivian's command presence and tactical knowledge has triggered every alarm bell his experience has installed. The facial recognition scan takes 3 seconds to process, 2 more seconds for the classified database to respond. When the results appear on his screen, Chief Williams' face goes completely white. "Holy cow," he whispers, staring at information that makes everything suddenly make terrible sense. The database entry shows a photograph of Vivian Carter in navy dress blues, wearing the insignia of a hospital corpsman with additional qualification badges that tell a story Chief Williams recognizes immediately. Special warfare qualification, expeditionary medical qualification, jump wings, dive bubble, combat action ribbon. But it's the unit designation that makes his blood run cold. Naval Special Warfare Command. Vivian Carter isn't just former military, she's former Navy SEAL Team Medical Support, one of the most elite medical specialists in the entire United States military. Her training included not only advanced trauma surgery techniques, but also the complete spectrum of special operations skills, weapons, tactics, intelligence, survival, and leadership under extreme conditions. The database shows a service record that reads like something from a Hollywood action movie. Multiple combat deployments to classified locations, life-saving medical actions under enemy fire, leadership of rescue operations in hostile territory, awards including the Navy Cross, Purple Heart, and Bronze Star with combat feed device. Her discharge was medical in nature, resulting from injuries sustained during a classified mission that went sideways. The details are redacted, but the outcome shows she could no longer meet the physical standards required for special operations duty. Chief Williams looks up from his device to see Vivian already halfway across the gymnasium, moving with the confident stride of someone responding to crisis as naturally as breathing. Around her, military personnel twice her rank automatically defer to her authority, recognizing leadership when they see it, regardless of current job description. "Ma'am," Chief Williams calls out, his voice carrying the respect due to someone whose service record far exceeds his own. "Ma'am, wait." Vivian turns, and for the first time since he's known her, Chief Williams sees her through the lens of who she really is rather than who she appears to be. The quiet competence makes sense now, the way she moves through the base with unconscious tactical awareness. The respect she commands from enlisted personnel who somehow sense there's more to her story than her civilian job suggests. "Chief, we need to move," she says, her voice carrying the urgency of someone who has seen what happens when medical response is delayed by bureaucracy and confusion. "Ma'am, I need to verify something first," he says, holding up his device so she can see the screen. Vivian glances at the display showing her official service photograph and classified profile information. For just a moment, her professional mask slips, revealing something that might be resignation or relief. "That was a long time ago, Chief." "Navy Cross doesn't get old, ma'am," Chief Williams responds quietly. Neither does saving lives. Around them, the emergency alarm continues its urgent wail, demanding response to casualties that require immediate medical attention. But for this brief moment, two veterans stand in recognition of shared service and mutual respect. Admiral Thompson approaches, still confused and embarrassed by the unexpected turn of events. "Chief Williams, what exactly is going on here?" Chief Williams looks at his commanding officer, then at Vivian, then back at Admiral Thompson. In that moment, he makes a decision that will have consequences far beyond anything happening in Building 12. "Sir, I need to report that we have a qualified medical specialist on scene with advanced trauma training and special operations background." He hands his device to Admiral Thompson, watching as the Admiral's expression shifts from confusion to disbelief to horror as he reads Vivian's service record. The silence stretches for several long seconds while Admiral Thompson processes the reality that he just attempted to humiliate a decorated combat veteran whose service record makes his own administrative achievements look trivial by comparison. "This can't be right," he says weakly. "Sir, database confirmed via biometric scan," Chief Williams responds formally. "Hospital Corpsman Carter is qualified for advanced medical response and trauma surgery. Given the current emergency, I recommend we utilize her expertise immediately." Vivian stands quietly during this exchange, her expression neutral and professional. She shows no satisfaction at Admiral Thompson's obvious discomfort, no indication that she considers this moment any kind of victory. Her focus remains entirely on the emergency response that required her attention. "Building 12 houses the advanced training equipment," she says matter-of-factly. "Hydraulic systems, heavy machinery, confined spaces. Injuries from equipment malfunction could include crushed trauma, internal bleeding, possible amputations. Time is critical for positive outcomes." Her assessment is delivered with the clinical precision of someone who has triaged combat casualties under fire. Admiral Thompson stares at her as if seeing her for the first time, which in many ways he is. You were former Naval Special Warfare Medical Support, sir. Currently civilian contractor maintaining this facility." She checks her watch with the automatic precision of someone accustomed to time-critical operations. "Sir, with respect, we're losing golden hour for trauma response." The golden hour. Admiral Thompson recognizes the term from casualty reports and medical briefings, but hearing it from someone who has lived, it drives home the reality of what they're dealing with. Real people are suffering real injuries while he stands here processing his own embarrassment. "Of course," he says, though his voice still carries shock. "Proceed with whatever you think is necessary." "Thank you, sir." "Chief Williams, I need you to coordinate with base medical and ensure ambulance access to Building 12. Clear primary routes and establish staging areas for triage." Chief Williams snaps to attention. "Yes, ma'am. What about personnel assignments?" "Senior enlisted manage crowd control and traffic. Junior personnel assist with equipment transport as needed, Officers coordinate with base command and ensure proper documentation of the incident. Her instructions are clear, concise, and perfectly suited to the capabilities of available personnel. Everyone knows exactly what they need to do and why their role is essential to overall mission success. As personnel begin moving to execute her orders, Admiral Thompson finds himself standing alone in the middle of the gymnasium, watching his entire command structure reorganize itself around the authority of someone he was humiliating for entertainment just minutes earlier. The irony is not lost on him, though the full implications of what just happened won't become clear until much later. Building 12 lies on the opposite side of the base from the main gymnasium, connected by a network of paved roads that wind between administrative buildings, housing units, and support facilities. The building itself houses advanced training equipment for damage control, engineering, and technical specialties. Exactly the kind of heavy machinery that can cause catastrophic injuries when something goes wrong. Vivian moves through the base with the confident stride of someone who knows every building, every shortcut, every potential obstacle to efficient movement. Chief Williams stays beside her, coordinating communications with base medical and emergency services. "Corpsman Carter," he says, using her former rank out of respect for her service record. "What kind of casualties should we expect?" "Depends on the specific equipment failure," she responds while maintaining her quick pace. "Hydraulic systems can cause crushing injuries or high-pressure injection wounds. Electrical systems might produce burns or cardiac issues. Heavy machinery could result in amputations, head trauma, or internal bleeding." Her assessment is delivered with the clinical detachment of someone who has seen every possible type of human damage and learned to compartmentalize emotion in favor of effective action. How many personnel typically work Building 12 during evening hours? Skeleton crew for evening maintenance. Probably 6 to 8 personnel maximum, she calculates quickly while walking. Small team means higher likelihood that everyone present was involved in the incident somehow. They round a corner and Building 12 comes into view. The structure is larger than most base buildings, designed to house industrial training equipment that simulates shipboard engineering spaces. Multiple ambulances are already on scene, their red and white emergency lights painting the surrounding area in urgent colors. But what Vivian sees makes her break into a run that Chief Williams struggles to match, despite his years of military fitness training. The building's main entrance is blocked by confused personnel milling around without clear direction. Ambulance crews are trying to establish triage areas, while base security attempts to establish a perimeter. Medical personnel are arguing with facility managers about access procedures. The scene shows all the classic signs of emergency response without unified command structure. "Chief, get base medical on the line right now," Vivian orders while assessing the chaos. "Tell them we need immediate medical command authority established on scene." "Ma'am, I'm not sure I have authority to—" "Chief Williams," she says, stopping abruptly and fixing him with the kind of stare that cuts through rank and protocol to reach shared understanding. "Right now, people are bleeding while we worry about paperwork. Make the call." He keys his radio without further hesitation. "Base medical, this is Chief Williams requesting immediate medical command authority for emergency response Building 12. We have qualified trauma specialist on scene requiring operational control." "Chief Williams, this is base medical. What trauma specialist?" "We show no medical officers assigned to your location." Vivian takes the radio from Chief Williams' hand, with the smooth authority of someone accustomed to taking charge when bureaucracy interferes with mission accomplishment. "Base medical, this is Hospital Corpsman Carter. I have advanced trauma surgery qualifications and special operations medical background. Request immediate medical command authority for Building 12 emergency response." The radio crackles with static for several seconds before responding. "Corpsman Carter, base medical shows no record of active medical personnel by that name. Base medical, run federal database check on Carter, Vivian, service number." She rattles off a sequence of numbers that Chief Williams recognizes as the format for classified personnel records. "Authorization code, Bravo 77 Charlie." Another pause, longer this time. When base medical responds, the voice carries considerably more respect than before. "Corpsman Carter, database confirms your medical qualifications and authorization. Medical command authority granted for Building 12 emergency response. What do you need?" "Establish triage stations at primary and secondary entrances. Route critical casualties to Station 1, walking wounded to Station 2. I need surgical capabilities standing by for potential amputations and internal trauma. Roger that, Corpsman Carter. Surgical team inbound. Estimated arrival 8 minutes. Vivian hands the radio back to Chief Williams and immediately begins moving toward the blockade main entrance, where confused personnel continue arguing about procedures while injured people wait for treatment. Clear the doorway, she calls out with unmistakable authority. Triage station establishes here. Critical casualties move immediately, walking wounded Q to the left. Medical personnel who were arguing with security guards moments earlier immediately begin following her directions. Security guards step aside to allow proper access. Facility managers who were worried about liability suddenly find themselves coordinating equipment access for medical needs. The transformation is remarkable to witness. What had been chaos and confusion suddenly becomes organized, efficient emergency response under unified command structure. Chief Williams finds himself taking orders from someone whose current job involves mopping floors, yet every fiber of his military training tells him this is exactly right. Competence trumps rank when lives are at stake, and Vivian Carter displays more competence in emergency medical response than most people develop in entire careers. Inside Building 12, the scene is worse than initial reports suggested. A hydraulic training system suffered catastrophic failure, sending high-pressure fluid throughout a confined training space. 6 personnel were present when the system failed, and all 6 sustained injuries ranging from minor cuts to life-threatening trauma. Vivian moves through the space with practiced efficiency, conducting rapid triage assessments that determine priority for medical evacuation. Her hands move with the sure knowledge of someone who has performed these procedures under considerably worse conditions than a controlled training environment on a secure base. "Critical patient here," she calls out, kneeling beside a young sailor whose leg was caught in the hydraulic system failure. Possible femoral artery involvement, immediate surgery required. She applies pressure to control bleeding while simultaneously assessing the patient for additional injuries. Her movements are confident and precise, exactly what's needed to save lives when seconds matter more than rank or protocol. Transport to Station 1 immediately. Alert surgical team for emergency amputation procedures. The words are clinical and matter-of-fact, but Chief Williams recognizes the weight behind them. Vivian is making life-or-death decisions with the kind of authority that comes from having made such decisions before, under considerably worse circumstances. As medical teams transport the critical patient toward emergency surgery, Vivian moves to the next casualty, conducting the same rapid assessment and priority assignment. Her training allows her to process multiple patients efficiently, ensuring that medical resources focus on those who can be saved rather than those whose injuries are either minor or beyond help. It's brutal calculus, but it's also the difference between saving lives and losing them to inefficient resource allocation. Working through the casualty list, Vivian demonstrates not only medical expertise, but also leadership capabilities that coordinate multiple teams toward unified objectives. Medical personnel, security guards, facility managers, and base command all find their roles clearly defined under her direction. Admiral Thompson arrives on scene as the last casualties are being transported for definitive medical care. He watches from a distance as Vivian coordinates final cleanup and equipment securing, ensuring that the training facility is safe for future use once repairs are completed. She works with the same methodical precision she displayed as a janitor, but now her competence is focused on life-saving medical response rather than cleaning supplies. The contrast is jarring for someone who minutes ago was attempting to humiliate her for entertainment. "Corpsman Carter," Admiral Thompson calls out as she finishes her coordination duties. She turns to face him, her expression professional and neutral. Her uniform is stained with blood and hydraulic fluid, evidence of hands-on medical work that saved lives. But her posture shows no exhaustion, no stress, no indication that what just happened was anything other than routine professional duty. "Yes, sir. I need to apologize for my behavior earlier this evening. Sir, emergency response takes priority over personal issues." Her response is completely professional, but Admiral Thompson recognizes that she's offering him a graceful way to acknowledge his mistake without making the situation more difficult than necessary. "Nevertheless, my conduct was inappropriate and unprofessional. You have my apologies and my thanks for your response to this emergency." "Thank you, sir." Chief Williams approaches, carrying documentation from the medical response. "Ma'am, Base medical requests formal report on casualty status and treatment procedures. Of course, Chief. Vivian takes the paperwork and begins completing it with the same attention to detail she brings to every task. All 6 casualties stable and transported for definitive care. 1 emergency surgery in progress, expected positive outcome. No fatalities. She hands the completed report back to Chief Williams, who reviews it with the eye of someone who has seen many such documents. Her medical terminology is precise, her assessment accurate, and her documentation meets every standard for professional medical reporting. Ma'am, if I may ask, why are you working as a janitor when you have qualifications like this? Vivian considers the question carefully before responding. Medical discharge from active duty due to injuries sustained during classified operations. Civilian medical practice requires credentials and time investment that weren't compatible with single-parent responsibilities. But surely there are medical positions available that would better utilize your skills. Chief, janitorial work provides steady income, flexible scheduling, and minimal stress. After 12 years of trauma surgery under combat conditions, those aren't small considerations. Her answer reveals more about her personal situation than anything she's shared before. Admiral Thompson listens, beginning to understand that her choice of employment wasn't failure or lack of ambition, but rather a conscious decision to prioritize family stability over professional recognition. Besides, she adds with what might be the first hint of humor she's shown all evening, cleaning equipment isn't that different from maintaining medical instruments. Both require attention to detail and high standards for sanitation. Chief Williams laughs despite the tension of the evening. Ma'am, I don't think anyone's ever made that comparison before. Most people haven't done both jobs, Chief. The exchange is light, but it reveals something important about Vivian's character. Despite her extraordinary military background and proven capabilities, she finds dignity and purpose in work that others might consider beneath notice. Her value system prioritizes service over status, competence over recognition. As emergency personnel complete their cleanup and secure the training facility, Admiral Thompson finds himself facing a situation he never anticipated. His base includes personnel whose capabilities far exceed their apparent positions, and his own assumptions about the relationship between rank and competence have been shattered by a single evening's events. Corpsman Carter, he says formally, I'd like to discuss potential modifications to your current position that might better utilize your qualifications. Sir, I appreciate the consideration, but my current assignment meets my personal requirements. Nevertheless, I think we need to review how we're utilizing all available talent on this base. It's an admission that his command structure might not be recognizing and properly employing the full capabilities of assigned personnel. For a career officer whose advancement depended on efficient resource management, this represents a significant failure of leadership. But more than that, it represents an opportunity to ensure that future emergencies receive the kind of expert response that saved lives tonight. Sir, if I may suggest, Vivian says carefully, medical emergency response would benefit from having qualified personnel available during off-duty hours when medical staff might not be immediately accessible. What kind of arrangement would that involve? Standby medical response duty, maintaining current assignment but with additional responsibility for emergency medical situations until qualified medical officers arrive on scene. It's a solution that addresses operational needs without disrupting her personal requirements. She can continue her flexible janitorial schedule while providing the base with expert medical capabilities during periods when such expertise might otherwise be unavailable. That sounds like an excellent arrangement, Admiral Thompson agrees. Chief Williams, please coordinate with Base Medical to establish proper protocols and authorization. Yes, sir. Ma'am, this will require updating your personnel file to reflect medical qualifications and emergency response authorization. Understood, Chief. The conversation is interrupted by Admiral Thompson's communication device, which chirps with the distinctive tone reserved for priority messages from Base Command. Admiral Thompson, this is Base Command. Request immediate status report on Building 12 emergency. Base Command, this is Admiral Thompson. Emergency response complete, all casualties stable and transported for medical care. Facility secured and safe for future operations. Admiral, we're showing unusual medical command authority authorization for civilian personnel. Please confirm status of personnel involved in emergency response. Admiral Thompson looks at Vivian, then at Chief Williams, then back at his communication device. In the space of a few hours, his understanding of his own command has been fundamentally altered by the revelation that civilian contractors might possess capabilities that exceed those of active duty personnel. Base Command, medical response was conducted by qualified former military medical specialist currently assigned to base support duties. Response was professional and effective, resulting in successful casualty treatment without fatalities. Admiral, please report to Base Command at 0800 hours tomorrow for complete briefing on this incident. Understood, Base Command. Admiral Thompson ends the communication and looks around at the scene of organized emergency response that transformed chaos into effective life-saving action. Tomorrow he will have to explain to his superiors how a janitor took command of emergency medical response on his base and saved lives that might otherwise have been lost. But tonight, he's beginning to understand that effective leadership involves recognizing competence wherever it exists, regardless of current position or apparent status. Corpsman Carter, he says formally, thank you for your service tonight and throughout your career. Thank you, sir. As personnel begin departing the scene, Chief Williams approaches Vivian with a question that has been bothering him since the evening's events began to unfold. Ma'am, if I may ask, how long have you been working on this base? 14 months, Chief. And in all that time, nobody recognized your background? Vivian considers the question carefully. Chief, people see what they expect to see. A woman with a cleaning cart fits certain assumptions about capability and background. Most people don't look beyond surface appearances. But surely some of the medical personnel would have recognized your competence? Medical personnel rarely interact with janitorial staff beyond basic courtesy. Our paths don't cross during normal operations. Chief Williams nods, understanding how institutional structures can create blind spots that prevent recognition of available resources. Military organizations pride themselves on efficient utilization of personnel, but bureaucracy and assumption can create situations where capabilities remain hidden until crisis reveals them. Ma'am, for what it's worth, tonight you reminded a lot of people what military competence actually looks like. Chief, competence is about getting the job done effectively, regardless of recognition or appreciation. Tonight we saved lives. That's what matters. Her response encapsulates everything Chief Williams respects about military service. Focus on mission accomplishment over personal recognition, professional competence over political advancement, service before self in every situation. As they walk back toward the main base area, Admiral Thompson finds himself reconsidering many assumptions about leadership, competence, and the proper utilization of available resources. Tonight's events have revealed gaps in his understanding of his own command that could have had catastrophic consequences if not for the unexpected intervention of someone he had dismissed as unworthy of respect. The gymnasium where the evening began now seems like a different place entirely. Equipment sits exactly where it was left when emergency alarms interrupted what Admiral Thompson had intended as harmless entertainment at civilian expense. But the context has changed so dramatically that returning to that space feels like entering a completely different reality. Sir, Chief Williams says as they approach the main base administrative area, I recommend formal documentation of tonight's medical response for personnel files and future reference. Agreed, Chief. Please ensure that all relevant information is properly recorded and distributed to appropriate personnel. Yes, sir. Ma'am, this will require your cooperation for complete documentation. Of course, Chief. Standard medical after-action reporting procedures. Vivian's familiarity with proper documentation requirements provides yet another confirmation of her professional background and training. Everything about her response to tonight's crisis reflects someone with extensive experience in military medical operations. As they reach the point where their paths diverge towards separate destinations, Admiral Thompson faces the reality that tomorrow will bring conversations with superiors who will want detailed explanations of how civilian contractors came to exercise medical command authority on his base. He will have to explain that his own assumptions about rank and capability nearly prevented effective emergency response that saved lives. He will have to acknowledge that his command includes personnel whose qualifications exceed their apparent positions. Most importantly, he will have to demonstrate that he has learned from tonight's events and taken steps to ensure better utilization of available resources. Corpsman Carter, he says, before they part company, I hope you will consider the standby medical response position we discussed. I'll consider it carefully, sir. Chief Williams, please ensure all paperwork is completed properly and forwarded through appropriate channels. Yes, sir. As Admiral Thompson heads toward Base Command to begin preparing his report, Chief Williams and Vivian continue toward the main gate area where their own transportation awaits. Ma'am, Chief Williams says quietly, tonight was impressive to watch. Not just the medical response, but the way you handled the whole situation with Admiral Thompson. Chief, de-escalation and professional focus are essential skills in crisis situations. Personal conflicts interfere with mission accomplishment. Still, a lot of people would have used tonight as an opportunity for payback after the way he treated you. Vivian stops walking and turns to face Chief Williams directly. Chief, revenge is a luxury that medical personnel can't afford. When lives are at stake, personal issues become irrelevant. Admiral Thompson was wrong tonight, but he's also the commanding officer of this base. Working within the system produces better results than fighting against it. Her response reveals sophisticated understanding of institutional dynamics and long-term strategic thinking. Rather than viewing tonight's events as an opportunity for personal vindication, she focused on establishing productive working relationships that will benefit future operations. Besides, she adds with a slight smile, I think Admiral Thompson learned more from tonight than he would have from any formal complaint or disciplinary action. Chief Williams recognizes the wisdom in her approach. Military organizations function best when personnel focus on collective mission accomplishment rather than individual grievances, and Vivian's response to tonight's challenges exemplified that principle. As they reach the main gate, where Vivian's personal vehicle waits in the civilian contractor parking area, Chief Williams realizes that their professional relationship has fundamentally changed. Tomorrow she will return to her janitorial duties, but he will never again see her as simply support staff. Ma'am, thank you for tonight, for the medical response, for the leadership, and for handling everything with such professionalism. Chief, we're all here to serve the mission. Tonight we did that effectively. She gets into her car, a practical sedan showing the wear expected from someone managing transportation costs carefully, and begins the drive home to her 9-year-old daughter, who has no idea that her mother spent the evening saving lives and reminding senior military officers about the true meaning of competence and service. Chief Williams watches her leave, then begins his own journey home with a great deal to think about regarding assumptions, capabilities, and the proper recognition of merit, regardless of current position. Tomorrow will bring new challenges as the events of tonight generate paperwork, reports, and policy discussions throughout the base command structure. But tonight has already changed fundamental assumptions about personnel utilization and the importance of recognizing competence wherever it exists. The gymnasium alarm system continues its periodic testing cycle, reminding everyone within hearing distance that emergency preparedness requires constant attention and immediate response when real crises occur. Tonight proved that such preparedness depends not just on equipment and procedures, but on personnel who possess the training, experience, and character necessary to lead effectively when lives depend on competent action. As Chief Williams completes his own departure from base, he carries with him renewed appreciation for the depth and diversity of capabilities that exist within military communities, capabilities that aren't always reflected in organization charts or job descriptions, but which remain available when circumstances require their application. The lessons of tonight will ripple through Naval Station Norfolk for months to come, affecting everything from personnel policies to emergency response procedures to the basic assumptions that determine how people are treated based on their apparent position rather than their actual capabilities. But those are tomorrow's challenges. Tonight, 6 injured personnel are receiving expert medical care because someone with the right training was available to take charge when bureaucracy and confusion threatened to interfere with effective response. That's what military service really means, being ready to step forward and accept responsibility when the situation demands it, regardless of personal convenience or recognition. Tonight, Vivian Carter embodied that principle perfectly, reminding everyone present why military virtues of competence, service, and leadership remain essential regardless of current position or assignment. The base settles into its normal evening routine, but something fundamental has changed in the way personnel view the relationship between apparent position and actual capability, between current assignment and potential contribution. Tomorrow will bring new opportunities to apply those lessons, but tonight has already proven their value beyond any possible doubt. The morning arrives with the sharp precision of military routine, but Naval Station Norfolk awakens to a fundamentally different reality than the one that existed 24 hours earlier. At 0600 hours, reveille sounds across the base, as it has every morning for decades. Yet something essential has shifted in the collective consciousness of everyone who witnessed last night's events. Admiral Thompson sits at his desk in the base command center, surrounded by incident reports, medical documentation, and personnel files that tell a story he's still struggling to comprehend. Coffee grows cold in his mug as he reviews the same documents for the third time, each reading revealing new layers of professional embarrassment and institutional failure. The official medical report shows 6 casualties successfully treated and stabilized, with 1 emergency surgery completed successfully and full recovery expected for all personnel. 0 fatalities. By any objective measure, the emergency response was flawlessly executed and achieved optimal results. But the same report also documents that effective medical command was established by civilian contractor Vivian Carter, whose qualifications include advanced trauma surgery training, special operations medical background, and combat experience that exceeds that of most active-duty medical personnel currently assigned to the base. Admiral Thompson's communication device chirps with the priority tone reserved for messages from flag rank officers. The display shows a direct communication from Admiral Sarah Mitchell, Commander Naval Region Mid-Atlantic, requesting his immediate presence for emergency briefing at 0800 hours. His career spans 35 years of careful political navigation and risk management, but nothing in his experience prepared him for explaining how he publicly humiliated a decorated combat veteran while she was working as a janitor on his base. The irony burns like acid in his stomach as he considers the multiple ways this situation could destroy everything he's worked to achieve. Across the base, in a small apartment in the civilian contractor housing area, Vivian Carter sits at her kitchen table, helping her 9-year-old daughter Emma with morning homework. The same hands that performed life-saving trauma surgery 12 hours ago now guide a pencil through elementary mathematics problems with infinite patience. "Mom, why do we have to learn fractions?" Emma asks, her blonde curls falling across her face as she frowns at her workbook. "Because understanding how parts relate to the whole helps you solve all kinds of problems," Vivian explains, her voice carrying the same calm authority she displayed during last night's medical emergency. "Like figuring out how much pizza everyone gets when we order dinner." Emma brightens at this practical application. "Can we have pizza tonight? We'll see how your day goes at school first." The domestic scene provides no hint of the institutional earthquake currently spreading through base command structures. Vivian's expression shows no satisfaction at having proven her capabilities, no anticipation of recognition or advancement, no indication that she considers last night anything other than professional duty performed competently under difficult circumstances. Her phone displays 3 missed calls from Chief Williams and 2 from base medical services, but she ignores them while focusing entirely on Emma's education. Whatever consequences emerge from last night's events can wait until her daughter is properly prepared for school and safely delivered to her classroom. This prioritization of family responsibilities over professional recognition speaks to character choices that shaped her transition from special operations medicine to civilian support work. For Vivian Carter, being present for her daughter's daily needs matters more than career advancement or institutional validation. At 0730 hours, Admiral Thompson enters the command briefing room, where Admiral Mitchell waits with a stern expression that promises uncomfortable conversations. The room's walls display maps, organizational charts, and mission statements that suddenly seem like relics from a simpler time when command structures aligned neatly with actual capabilities. "Admiral Thompson, please explain how civilian contractor personnel came to exercise medical command authority on your base during last night's emergency." Admiral Mitchell's tone suggests she already knows the essential facts and is more interested in Thompson's interpretation of events than in gathering new information. Her expression indicates that whatever explanation he provides will be measured against standards of leadership and judgment that may find his conduct seriously lacking. "Admiral, the situation developed rapidly when Building 12 experienced equipment failure, resulting in multiple casualties. Civilian contractor Carter demonstrated advanced medical qualifications and took appropriate action to coordinate emergency response." "Civilian contractor Carter," Admiral Mitchell repeats slowly. "Would that be former hospital corpsman Vivian Carter, Naval Special Warfare Command, holder of the Navy Cross and Purple Heart. The question lands with the force of a direct hit from naval artillery. Admiral Thompson's face drains of color as he realizes that Senior Command already possesses complete information about Vivian's background and his own conduct toward her. Yes, Admiral, I wasn't aware of her background at the time. At what time, Admiral Thompson? When you challenged her to physical combat for entertainment, or when she saved lives through expert medical intervention. Admiral Mitchell's words slice through any pretense that this conversation will focus on administrative details rather than fundamental questions of leadership, judgment, and professional conduct. Admiral, I accept full responsibility for my actions and their inappropriateness given the circumstances. Given the circumstances, Admiral Mitchell echoes. Admiral Thompson, what circumstances would make it appropriate for a base commander to publicly humiliate any personnel, regardless of their background or current assignment? The question exposes the deeper issue underlying last night's events. Admiral Thompson's conduct wasn't wrong simply because Vivian turned out to be a decorated veteran. It was wrong because it violated basic standards of professional respect and human dignity that should apply to all personnel, regardless of their position or background. None, Admiral. My conduct was unprofessional and inappropriate under any circumstances. Agreed. Now, explain how this situation developed and what steps you're taking to ensure it never happens again. Admiral Thompson begins recounting the events of the previous evening, each detail highlighting decision points where better judgment would have prevented the entire situation. As he describes challenging Vivian to sparring for educational purposes and encouraging betting among his subordinates, he watches Admiral Mitchell's expression grow increasingly stern. The story becomes more damaging with each revelation. 53 witnesses to his unprofessional conduct, betting among junior officers he encouraged rather than stopped, public humiliation of someone whose service record far exceeds his own, and complete failure to recognize capabilities that could have been valuable assets to his command. Admiral Thompson, what does this incident suggest about your understanding of the personnel assigned to your command? That I've failed to properly assess and utilize available capabilities. Specifically, Admiral Thompson takes a deep breath, recognizing that his next words will likely define the remainder of his career. That I've allowed assumptions about position and background to blind me to actual qualifications and potential contributions. That my command climate may discourage personnel from revealing capabilities that could benefit our mission. Admiral Mitchell nods, her expression suggesting this assessment aligns with her own conclusions. What steps are you implementing to address these failures? Immediate review of all contractor personnel files to identify undocumented capabilities. Development of new protocols for recognizing and utilizing all available expertise regardless of current assignment. Mandatory training for all leadership personnel on professional conduct and respect for all base personnel. And Corpsman Carter's current assignment? We've discussed standby medical response duties that would utilize her expertise while maintaining her current schedule requirements. Admiral Mitchell leans back in her chair, studying Admiral Thompson with the calculating gaze of someone making career-affecting decisions. The silence stretches uncomfortably as she weighs his responses against standards of leadership expected from flag rank officers. Admiral Thompson, this incident reveals systemic failures in leadership, personnel management, and professional conduct that reflect poorly on this entire command. However, the successful emergency response also demonstrates that your base includes personnel with exceptional capabilities who remain committed to mission accomplishment despite poor treatment from leadership. The assessment cuts both ways, acknowledging institutional failure while recognizing that the same institution includes people whose dedication transcends personal grievances in favor of professional duty. Your evaluation will reflect the serious leadership failures this incident revealed. However, you'll have the opportunity to demonstrate improved judgment through implementation of comprehensive reforms to ensure better recognition and utilization of all personnel capabilities. Translation: Admiral Thompson will remain in command, but under intense scrutiny and with his career advancement effectively terminated, unless he can prove dramatic improvement in leadership and judgment. Thank you, Admiral. I won't waste this opportunity. See that you don't. Now, I want to meet with Corpsman Carter to discuss her situation and potential options for better utilizing her capabilities. At Naval Station Norfolk Elementary School, Emma Carter joins her classmates for morning assembly, her backpack properly organized and her homework completed to her mother's exacting standards. She has no awareness that Base Command leadership is currently discussing her mother's military service record, or that last night's events have triggered institutional changes that will affect personnel policies for months to come. Vivian arrives at the base at her usual time, driving through gates where security personnel now recognize her as something more than routine contractor traffic. The guards' respectful nods reflect widespread knowledge of last night's medical response, though the details remain unclear to most base personnel. She parks in the civilian contractor area and retrieves her cleaning supplies with the same methodical precision she's maintained for 14 months. Whatever recognition or advancement opportunities may emerge from last night's events, she continues to fulfill her current responsibilities with professional competence and attention to detail. Chief Williams intercepts her before she reaches the main administrative building, his expression combining relief at seeing her with urgency about developing situations requiring her attention. "Ma'am, I need to brief you on overnight developments and requests from Base Command." "Good morning, Chief. What's the status?" "All casualties from last night remain stable with positive prognosis. Emergency surgery was successful. Full recovery expected. Base Command wants to meet with you this morning regarding your personnel status and potential assignment modifications." Vivian nods, unsurprised by the administrative follow-up to last night's emergency response. Military organizations require documentation and formal processes for everything, especially situations involving unusual circumstances or exceptional performance. "What time is the meeting scheduled?" 0900 hours, Base Command Conference Room. Admiral Mitchell from Regional Command is present for the discussion. The involvement of Regional Command indicates that last night's events have attracted attention from considerably higher levels than base administration. Vivian recognizes this as both opportunity and potential complication, depending on how senior leadership chooses to interpret the situation. "Understood. I'll complete my morning assignments and report as directed." "Ma'am, with respect, you might want to consider how you want to approach this meeting. Admiral Mitchell has authority to modify your current status significantly." Chief Williams' concern reflects his understanding that flag rank officers possess broad discretionary power over personnel assignments, including the ability to change Vivian's current arrangements in ways that might not align with her personal requirements. "Chief, I'll discuss the situation honestly and professionally. Beyond that, I'll address whatever decisions are made through proper channels." Her response demonstrates the same principled approach she's maintained throughout this entire situation. Focus on professional competence, honest communication, and working within institutional structures rather than against them. "Yes, ma'am. For what it's worth, most personnel on base are hoping you will accept whatever opportunities they offer. Last night showed leadership capabilities this base needs." Vivian considers Chief Williams' words carefully. Recognition from colleagues matters more than advancement opportunities because it reflects professional respect earned through demonstrated competence rather than granted through bureaucratic processes. "I appreciate that, Chief. We'll see what develops." At 0845 hours, Vivian reports to Base Command Conference Room, wearing clean civilian work clothes and carrying herself with the quiet confidence that has characterized her approach to every challenge throughout this entire situation. She represents herself honestly, neither emphasizing her military background nor minimizing her current civilian status. Admiral Mitchell's first impression of Vivian Carter aligns with the service record she's reviewed, but contrasts sharply with expectations about how decorated veterans typically present themselves. There's no swagger, no demand for recognition, no sense that exceptional service record entitles her to special treatment or advancement. Instead, Admiral Mitchell observes someone who appears genuinely comfortable with her current position, while remaining ready to accept additional responsibilities if circumstances require them. The combination suggests character depth that transcends career ambition in favor of service commitment. Hospital Corpsman Carter, thank you for joining us this morning. "Thank you, Admiral. Please have a seat. I understand you had an eventful evening last night." Vivian takes the offered chair with relaxed professionalism, showing neither nervousness about meeting with flag rank leadership nor excitement about potential opportunities. Her demeanor suggests someone accustomed to working with senior leadership without being intimidated by rank or authority. "The emergency response proceeded successfully, Admiral. All casualties received appropriate medical care with positive outcomes." Her focus remains entirely on mission accomplishment rather than personal recognition, reinforcing Admiral Mitchell's impression that this conversation involves someone whose priorities align with military values, regardless of current assignment status. Your medical response was exemplary. However, I'm also interested in discussing your current assignment and whether we're making optimal use of your capabilities. Admiral Mitchell's approach is direct but respectful, acknowledging Vivian's right to make her own choices about career direction, while exploring opportunities that might benefit both her personal situation and institutional needs. Admiral, my current assignment meets my personal requirements while allowing me to contribute to base operations. I'm satisfied with the arrangement. Even though it significantly underutilizes your medical training and leadership experience, Admiral, job satisfaction involves more factors than professional utilization. Flexible scheduling and predictable duties allow me to maintain priorities that matter to me personally. The response reveals sophisticated thinking about work-life balance and personal values that transcends conventional assumptions about career advancement. For Vivian Carter, optimal employment involves factors beyond professional recognition or financial advancement. I understand you're a single parent. How old is your daughter? 9 years old, Admiral. And your current schedule allows you to be present for her daily needs. Yes, Admiral. Night shift work means I'm available for school pickup, homework assistance, and evening routines. Weekend work is minimal, allowing family time that would be difficult with traditional medical positions. Admiral Mitchell recognizes the logic behind Vivian's career choices, even as she considers the institutional loss of having expert medical capabilities employed in basic support roles. The conversation reveals tension between personal optimization and organizational efficiency that affects many military families. Have you considered part-time medical positions that might offer similar schedule flexibility with better utilization of your expertise? Admiral, civilian medical practice requires credentials and continuing education that would demand significant time investment. Currently, that time is better spent with my daughter during her formative years. The explanation demonstrates long-term strategic thinking that prioritizes family stability over professional advancement during critical periods of child development. Admiral Mitchell respects the reasoning while still seeking ways to better utilize exceptional capabilities. What if we could arrange medical duties that provided schedule flexibility while allowing you to maintain your primary focus on family responsibilities? I'd be interested in discussing specific proposals, Admiral. Standby medical response duty, as you discussed with Admiral Thompson. Maintaining current assignment, but with additional responsibility for emergency medical situations during off-duty hours when base medical staff might not be immediately available. The proposed arrangement addresses both institutional needs and personal requirements by providing the base with expert medical capabilities without disrupting Vivian's family-focused schedule or requiring her to abandon her current stable employment. That sounds workable, Admiral. What would such duties involve specifically? 24-hour on-call availability for medical emergencies. Immediate response capability until qualified medical officers arrive on scene. Authority to coordinate emergency medical response as circumstances require. Admiral Mitchell outlines duties that would formalize the role Vivian performed instinctively during last night's emergency, providing official recognition and authority for capabilities she already possesses. Additional compensation would reflect the specialized nature of these duties and the value they provide to base operations. The financial consideration addresses practical concerns while avoiding any suggestion that money motivates her service. The arrangement recognizes expertise through appropriate compensation without requiring career changes that might disrupt family priorities. Admiral, I'm willing to accept such duties if they can be structured to complement rather than interfere with my primary responsibilities. I believe we can arrange that effectively. There's one additional consideration we need to discuss. Admiral Mitchell's tone suggests transition to more sensitive topics, requiring careful handling and clear understanding of implications. Last night's events have attracted attention throughout regional command structure. Your medical response was exemplary, but the circumstances that led to it raised concerns about command climate and personnel policies. The diplomatic language acknowledges institutional failures without directly criticizing Admiral Thompson in front of personnel who must continue working within his command structure. Admiral, I'm satisfied that appropriate lessons have been learned and necessary changes will be implemented. Vivian's response deflects potential criticism while supporting institutional authority and chain of command structures. Her approach demonstrates commitment to working within military systems rather than against them, even when those systems have treated her poorly. Nevertheless, this situation provides an opportunity to review and improve how we recognize and utilize capabilities throughout our personnel structure. I agree, Admiral. I'm assigning you additional responsibilities beyond emergency medical response. I want you to review contractor personnel files and identify any undocumented capabilities that might benefit base operations. The expanded assignment recognizes Vivian's demonstrated ability to assess people and situations accurately while addressing systemic issues that may affect other personnel whose capabilities remain unrecognized. You'll report directly to me on personnel capability assessments and recommendations for better utilization of available expertise. Direct reporting to flag rank leadership represents significant authority and recognition, while allowing Vivian to maintain her current position and schedule. The arrangement provides institutional influence without requiring traditional career advancement that might interfere with family priorities. Admiral, I accept these additional responsibilities and appreciate the confidence you're placing in my assessment capabilities. Excellent. Now, there's one final matter we need to address. Admiral Mitchell's expression becomes more serious, suggesting discussion of issues with broader implications than individual personnel assignments. Last night's events have been documented and will be reviewed at multiple levels of command structure. Your actions reflect exceptional credit on your military service and demonstrate continued commitment to core military values despite challenging circumstances. The formal recognition acknowledges Vivian's professional competence while establishing official record of her contributions for future reference. However, the circumstances that created this situation also reveal systemic issues that require comprehensive response. I'm implementing base-wide policy changes to ensure better recognition of personnel capabilities and higher standards of professional conduct at all levels. Admiral Mitchell's announcement indicates that last night's events will generate institutional changes affecting policies, training, and leadership expectations throughout the base command structure. These changes include mandatory leadership training on professional conduct, comprehensive review of contractor personnel capabilities, and new protocols for recognizing and utilizing expertise regardless of current assignment status. The reforms address root causes rather than the symptoms, ensuring that future situations will be handled better and that personnel capabilities will be recognized more effectively. Additionally, Admiral Thompson will be implementing command climate improvements to ensure all personnel receive appropriate respect and professional treatment, regardless of their position or background. The diplomatically worded requirement acknowledges Admiral Thompson's conduct failures while providing opportunity for improved performance under increased scrutiny. Ma'am, I want you to know that your professionalism throughout this entire situation has been exemplary. You've demonstrated military virtues of service, competence, and leadership that reflect credit on all veterans. Admiral Mitchell's personal recognition carries weight beyond official documentation, representing acknowledgement from senior leadership that Vivian's conduct met the highest standards despite challenging circumstances. Thank you, Admiral. I appreciate the opportunity to continue serving. The opportunity is ours, Corpsman Carter. Your capabilities benefit this entire command. As the formal meeting concludes, Vivian feels a complex mixture of satisfaction and caution about the changes emerging from last night's events. Recognition and additional responsibilities are welcome, but they also represent potential complications for the carefully balanced life she's constructed around her daughter's needs. The expanded duties provide opportunities to make meaningful contributions while maintaining schedule flexibility, but they also increase visibility and expectations that could affect her current stability. She'll need to manage these changes carefully to preserve what matters most while accepting increased responsibilities. At 10:00 hours, Admiral Thompson convenes mandatory formation for all base personnel to announce policy changes and address command climate issues emerging from recent events. The gathering includes everyone who witnessed last night's initial confrontation, plus hundreds of additional personnel whose duties kept them unaware of the dramatic developments. Personnel of Naval Station Norfolk, effective immediately, were implementing comprehensive policy changes to ensure proper recognition and utilization of all capabilities within our command structure. Admiral Thompson's tone carries the formal authority expected from base commanders, but his words acknowledge institutional failures that require systematic correction. Last night's emergency response demonstrated that this base includes personnel with exceptional capabilities that may not be reflected in current job descriptions or assignment patterns. The announcement provides official recognition of Vivian's contributions without explicitly naming her or detailing the circumstances that led to her involvement in emergency medical response. We're conducting comprehensive review of all personnel files to identify undocumented qualifications that could benefit our mission effectiveness. Personnel who possess relevant experience or training are encouraged to update their records through proper administrative channels. The policy change addresses systemic issues while inviting voluntary disclosure of capabilities that might otherwise remain hidden due to bureaucratic oversight or personal choice. Additionally, we're implementing enhanced standards for professional conduct and respect for all base personnel, regardless of their current position, background, or assignment status. Admiral Thompson's words acknowledge that respect and professional treatment should be universal rather than conditional on rank, position, or perceived status. Harassment, discrimination, or unprofessional conduct toward any personnel will result in immediate disciplinary action and potential removal from base assignment. The zero-tolerance policy establishes clear consequences for behavior that undermines command climate and prevents effective utilization of available personnel. These changes reflect our commitment to maintaining the highest standards of military professionalism while ensuring that all personnel can contribute their capabilities to mission accomplishment. As personnel disperse from the formation, conversations buzz with speculation about the specific events that triggered such comprehensive policy announcements. Most personnel recognize that significant incidents must have occurred, but details remain unclear to everyone except direct witnesses. Chief Williams approaches Vivian as she prepares to resume her regular duties with additional responsibilities for personnel capability assessment and emergency medical response. "Ma'am, how do you feel about all the changes happening?" "Chief, change is often necessary for improvement. If these policies help other personnel receive appropriate recognition for their capabilities, then last night accomplished something meaningful beyond emergency medical response." Her answer reveals perspective that transcends personal satisfaction in favor of systemic improvement that could benefit many people whose capabilities might otherwise remain unrecognized. "Ma'am, I think a lot of personnel are hoping these changes lead to better opportunities for everyone whose qualifications exceed their current assignments." "Chief, opportunity usually comes to people who prepare for it through competent performance of current duties. Recognition follows contribution, not the reverse." Vivian's philosophy emphasizes personal responsibility and professional competence rather than relying on institutional changes to create advancement opportunities. Throughout the morning, word spreads across Naval Station Norfolk about the previous night's events and their ongoing consequences. Details remain fuzzy, but the general outline becomes clear. Civilian contractor performed emergency medical response, revealed extensive military background, exposed command climate issues, and triggered comprehensive policy changes. Personnel reactions vary widely based on background and perspective. Some celebrate the recognition of undervalued capabilities and improve standards for professional conduct. Others worry about increased scrutiny and changing expectations for interaction with contractor personnel. Female personnel express particular satisfaction with enhanced harassment policies and better recognition of expertise regardless of position or background. Male personnel generally support improved utilization of available capabilities while adjusting to higher standards for professional conduct. Senior leadership faces the challenge of implementing meaningful changes while maintaining operational effectiveness and morale. The policy announcements represent commitments that must be fulfilled through consistent enforcement and genuine cultural change, rather than temporary administrative adjustments. At 1100 hours, Vivian begins her expanded duties by reviewing contractor personnel files to identify undocumented capabilities that might benefit base operations. The assignment provides insight into how many qualified people work in positions that underutilize their training and experience. The files reveal former military personnel working in civilian support roles, college graduates employed in basic labor positions, and technical specialists assigned to general maintenance duties. The pattern suggests systematic inefficiency in personnel utilization that affects many people beyond Vivian's individual situation. One file particularly catches her attention. Marcus Rodriguez, age 34, currently employed as groundskeeper, previously served 8 years as Army Signal Corps with specialized electronic warfare training. His security clearance remains active, and his technical knowledge could significantly benefit base communications and information systems. Another file shows similar patterns. Jennifer Walsh, 38, food service supervisor, former Air Force logistics specialist with advanced supply chain management training and experience coordinating complex international operations. The documentation reveals a hidden workforce of experienced professionals whose capabilities far exceed their current assignments, but who chose civilian positions for personal reasons similar to Vivian's own: schedule flexibility, family considerations, reduced stress, or desire for stability after military transitions. Identifying these capabilities represents the first step toward better personnel utilization, but actually implementing changes will require careful coordination between institutional needs and individual preferences. At 1300 hours, Vivian receives her first emergency medical call since accepting standby response duties. A minor training accident at the base driving course results in one injured instructor, with possible concussion and lacerations requiring professional medical assessment. The response demonstrates how formalized emergency medical capability improves outcomes even for routine injuries. Instead of waiting for ambulance transport to base medical facilities, qualified assessment occurs immediately on scene, determining appropriate treatment level and transport requirements. Patient shows no signs of serious head trauma, Vivian reports after conducting comprehensive neurological examination. Lacerations require suturing, but no emergency surgery. Recommend transport to base medical for wound closure and observation. Her assessment provides base medical with information necessary for proper preparation, reducing response time, and ensuring appropriate resource allocation. The incident proceeds without drama or complication, but it establishes precedent for how emergency medical response will function under the new arrangements. Personnel throughout the base begin recognizing that expert medical capability is now available during off-duty hours when base medical staff might not be immediately accessible. Word of Vivian's morning personnel capability assessment also spreads, generating interest from contractor personnel who possess undocumented qualifications relevant to base operations. Several individuals approach Chief Williams to inquire about procedures for updating their records to reflect additional capabilities. Marcus Rodriguez visits the base administration office to discuss potential modifications to his groundskeeper position that might incorporate his electronic warfare background. Jennifer Walsh submits documentation of her logistics training and experience for consideration in supply chain improvement projects. The voluntary disclosure of hidden capabilities validates Admiral Mitchell's assessment that comprehensive personnel review could reveal significant untapped resources throughout the base command structure. By 1400 hours, the ripple effects of last night's events have spread throughout Naval Station Norfolk's operational structure. Emergency medical protocols have been updated, personnel policies have been reformed, and capability assessment processes have been initiated that will affect resource utilization for months to come. Admiral Thompson spends his afternoon implementing the comprehensive changes promised during morning formation, recognizing that his career depends on proving genuine commitment to reform rather than temporary damage control. The leadership training he's mandating for all supervisory personnel will address professional conduct, harassment prevention, and better recognition of diverse capabilities within assigned personnel. The training represents acknowledgement that institutional culture requires active management, rather than passive assumption that professional standards will maintain themselves. At 1600 hours, Vivian completes her first day under expanded responsibilities with satisfaction at meaningful contributions to institutional improvement. The Personnel Capability Assessment has identified dozens of underutilized qualifications that could benefit base operations if properly integrated into assignment structures. Her emergency medical response demonstrated efficient coordination between civilian contractor expertise and military medical resources, establishing effective protocols for similar future situations. Most importantly, the policy changes implemented throughout the base provide framework for preventing future situations where personnel capabilities remain hidden due to assumptions about position, background, or assignment status. As evening approaches, Vivian prepares to transition back to her primary role as Emma's mother, knowing that her daughter's homework, dinner, and bedtime routine take precedence over any professional recognition or institutional responsibilities. The balance between expanded duties and family priorities will require careful management, but the flexible scheduling that attracted her to civilian contractor work allows her to maintain focus on what matters most while contributing capabilities where they can benefit others. At 1800 hours, Admiral Mitchell reviews the day's progress reports with satisfaction that meaningful changes are being implemented quickly and comprehensively. The combination of improved personnel utilization, enhanced professional conduct standards, and better recognition of available capabilities should prevent similar situations while improving overall command effectiveness. Her evaluation of Admiral Thompson reflects guarded optimism that lessons have been learned and genuine improvement will follow, though his future performance will require careful monitoring to ensure sustained rather than temporary changes. Most importantly, the institutional response to last night's events demonstrates organizational capacity for self-correction when problems are identified and addressed systematically rather than ignored or minimized. The following morning brings new routine that incorporates changes implemented over the past 24 hours. Personnel throughout Naval Station Norfolk begin adapting to enhanced professional conduct standards, improved recognition of diverse capabilities, and better utilization of available expertise. Vivian arrives at base to find several messages requesting her assessment of personnel files that might contain relevant undocumented capabilities. Her expanded role as capability assessor is generating interest throughout the contractor community as people recognize opportunities for better utilization of their qualifications. The emergency medical standby duty provides base medical staff with confidence that expert trauma response remains available during off-duty hours, improving overall emergency preparedness without requiring additional full-time medical personnel. At 0900 hours, Admiral Mitchell conducts follow-up assessment of policy implementation and institutional response to recent events. Her review shows encouraging progress in areas requiring improvement, though sustained change will require ongoing attention and enforcement. Admiral Thompson, progress reports indicate effective implementation of enhanced professional conduct standards and personnel capability assessment procedures. Thank you, Admiral. We're committed to making these improvements permanent rather than temporary responses to recent events. I'm particularly pleased with the voluntary disclosure of contractor personnel capabilities. The hidden expertise we're discovering suggests systematic inefficiencies that affect many bases throughout the region. Admiral Mitchell's observation highlights broader implications beyond Naval Station Norfolk's individual situation. If other bases include similar underutilization of available capabilities, regional command efficiency could be improved significantly through better personnel assessment and assignment practices. We're developing protocols for sharing these assessment techniques with other base commanders to identify opportunities for improved resource utilization throughout the region. The expansion of capability assessment beyond individual base level represents recognition that institutional improvements should benefit the entire military community rather than remaining isolated to locations where problems happen to be discovered. Excellent initiative, Admiral Thompson. This demonstrates exactly the kind of leadership and strategic thinking that can transform temporary crisis into lasting institutional improvement. At 1000 hours, Marcus Rodriguez begins modified duties that incorporate his electronic warfare background into base communications security while maintaining his groundskeeper responsibilities. The arrangement provides the base with specialized technical expertise while allowing him to continue work that meets his personal schedule and income requirements. Jennifer Walsh starts part-time consultation on supply chain efficiency while continuing her food service supervisory duties. Her logistics expertise is being applied to improve procurement processes and inventory management throughout base operations. These examples demonstrate how better recognition of personnel capabilities can benefit both individuals and institutions without requiring dramatic career changes that might disrupt personal situations. Throughout the week, additional contractor personnel submit documentation of previously undisclosed qualifications relevant to base operations. The pattern confirms Admiral Mitchell's assessment that comprehensive capability review reveals significant untapped resources within existing personnel structures. By Friday afternoon, the personnel capability assessment has identified sufficient expertise to improve operations in areas including technical services, logistics management, training support, medical response, communication security, and administrative efficiency. The discovery of hidden capabilities validates the institutional changes implemented in response to last night's events, while demonstrating potential for similar improvements throughout the military community. At 1700 hours, Admiral Thompson conducts weekly command assessment, with recognition that fundamental changes in leadership approach and personnel management have produced measurable improvements in command effectiveness and climate. Chief Williams, what's your assessment of command climate changes over the past week? Sir, personnel morale has improved significantly with enhanced respect standards and better recognition of diverse capabilities. The contractor community particularly appreciates opportunities for meaningful contribution beyond basic support roles. Chief Williams's report reflects positive response to institutional changes, while acknowledging that sustained improvement will require ongoing attention and enforcement. Personnel appreciate knowing their qualifications and experience can be recognized and utilized appropriately, regardless of their current assignment status. The observation highlights importance of matching personnel capabilities with institutional needs rather than allowing arbitrary distinctions between military and civilian positions to prevent optimal resource utilization. Medical response capability has improved substantially with standby trauma expertise available during off-duty hours. Base medical staff reports increased confidence in emergency preparedness. The enhancement of medical capabilities demonstrates how relatively small changes in personnel utilization can produce significant improvements in operational readiness and emergency response effectiveness. Sir, if I may suggest, these changes could serve as model for other bases struggling with similar personnel utilization challenges. Chief Williams's recommendation aligns with Admiral Mitchell's regional implementation plans, while providing Admiral Thompson with opportunity to demonstrate leadership in institutional improvement rather than simply responding to crisis situations. Agreed, Chief. Prepare comprehensive documentation of our assessment techniques and implementation procedures for distribution to other base commanders. As the week concludes, Vivian Carter maintains her routine of arriving at base in time to complete janitorial duties while fulfilling expanded responsibilities for personnel capability assessment and emergency medical standby. The balance between family priorities and professional contributions continues successfully, demonstrating that meaningful work doesn't require sacrificing personal values or family commitments. Her daughter, Emma, benefits from stable routine and maternal presence, while Vivian contributes capabilities that improve base operations and potentially serve as model for better personnel utilization throughout the military community. At 1900 hours Friday evening, Vivian receives official notification that her expanded duties and contributions have been documented for potential recognition at regional level, though she specifically requested that any formal recognition emphasize institutional improvement rather than individual achievement. The request reflects her continued focus on service rather than personal advancement, preferring that attention focus on policy changes that could benefit other personnel rather than highlighting her individual situation. Over the weekend, word spreads throughout the military community about innovative personnel utilization techniques being implemented at Naval Station Norfolk. Other base commanders begin requesting information about capability assessment procedures and their potential application to similar challenges at their own facilities. The regional interest validates Admiral Mitchell's assessment that institutional improvements discovered through crisis response can benefit the entire military community if properly documented and shared. On Monday morning, Vivian returns to base to find additional requests for capability assessments from contractor personnel who have learned about opportunities for better utilization of their qualifications and experience. The growing interest demonstrates that many qualified people work in positions that underutilize their capabilities, often for personal reasons that make traditional career advancement unattractive or impractical. By providing alternative arrangements that respect personal priorities while recognizing professional qualifications, the new policies create opportunities for mutual benefit between individuals and institutions. At 0800 hours, Admiral Thompson receives communication from Admiral Mitchell announcing regional expansion of capability assessment procedures to all bases within her command structure. Admiral Thompson, your base's innovative response to recent challenges has attracted positive attention throughout regional command. We're implementing similar personnel utilization improvements across all facilities to identify and better employ available capabilities. The regional expansion represents validation of institutional improvements while providing Admiral Thompson with opportunity to demonstrate continued leadership in personnel management innovation. Additionally, your command climate improvements and enhanced professional conduct standards are being studied as potential model for wider implementation. Recognition that crisis response has generated replicable institutional improvements provides Admiral Thompson with career rehabilitation opportunity while benefiting the broader military community. Thank you, Admiral. We're committed to continued improvement and sharing effective techniques with other commands facing similar challenges. 2 weeks after the initial incident, Naval Station Norfolk has completed transition to enhanced personnel policies that better recognize and utilize available capabilities while maintaining higher standards for professional conduct and respect for all personnel. The changes have produced measurable improvements in command effectiveness, personnel morale, emergency response capability, and operational efficiency without requiring significant additional resources or dramatic restructuring. Most importantly, the institutional response demonstrates organizational capacity for self-correction and improvement when problems are identified and addressed systematically rather than ignored or minimized. Vivian Carter continues her work as civilian contractor with expanded responsibilities that utilize her medical and assessment capabilities while maintaining the schedule flexibility and family focus that initially attracted her to the position. Her daughter Emma benefits from continued maternal presence and stability, while Vivian contributes expertise that improves base operations and serves as model for better personnel utilization throughout the military community. The situation demonstrates that meaningful service and professional contribution can take many forms, and that institutional effectiveness depends on recognizing and utilizing all available capabilities, regardless of current position or assignment status. 3 weeks after the initial incident, Admiral Thompson receives official notification that his command's personnel utilization innovations have been selected for implementation throughout the naval region mid-Atlantic, affecting dozens of bases and thousands of personnel. The recognition provides professional vindication while demonstrating that effective leadership can emerge from crisis response when leaders choose learning and improvement over defensive damage control. For Vivian Carter, the recognition and expanded opportunities represent validation that competent service creates value regardless of formal position or institutional recognition, while providing opportunities for meaningful contribution that respects personal priorities and family commitments. 1 month later, Emma Carter receives a certificate of academic excellence from her elementary school, achievement made possible by her mother's consistent presence and support throughout her daily educational needs. The certificate represents successful balance between professional contribution and family priorities, demonstrating that meaningful work and dedicated parenting can coexist when individuals make thoughtful choices about their values and commitments. As autumn arrives at Naval Station Norfolk, the changes implemented in response to one evening's crisis continue producing benefits for personnel throughout the base and beyond. Emergency medical response capabilities remain enhanced through standby expertise available during off-duty hours. Personnel capability assessment continues identifying undocumented qualifications that improve operational effectiveness. Professional conduct standards maintain improved command climate that respects all personnel regardless of position or background. The institutional improvements demonstrate that effective crisis response involves learning and systematic change rather than temporary adjustments that fail to address underlying problems. For everyone involved, the situation has demonstrated that competence, service, and leadership can emerge from unexpected places when organizations create environments that recognize and value human capabilities regardless of current assignment or apparent status. The transformation at Naval Station Norfolk serves as a powerful reminder that excellence often operates quietly in the background, unnoticed until circumstances demand its revelation. What appeared to be a simple cleaning contractor proved to be a decorated combat veteran whose skills surpassed those of many active-duty personnel. Yet she had been overlooked for months because institutional assumptions prevented proper recognition of her capabilities. The lessons continue influencing personnel policies and leadership training throughout the naval community, ensuring that temporary crisis produces lasting improvements that benefit thousands of military and civilian personnel. Training academies now incorporate case studies examining how unconscious bias and rigid hierarchical thinking can blind leaders to available resources within their own commands. Junior officers learn to look beyond surface appearances and job titles to identify potential contributions from all personnel. Senior commanders study the incident as an example of how crisis can reveal both institutional weaknesses and hidden strengths simultaneously. Military spouse employment programs have adopted similar capability assessment techniques, recognizing that many family members possess professional qualifications that could benefit base operations while accommodating family responsibilities. Educational institutions serving military communities use the story to illustrate how personal choices about career and family can coexist with meaningful professional contribution when employers demonstrate flexibility and genuine respect for diverse life circumstances. Most importantly, the situation proves that individual competence and institutional effectiveness depend on mutual respect, professional recognition, and commitment to utilizing all available capabilities in service of shared mission accomplishment. The cultural shift extends beyond policy changes to fundamental alterations in how personnel interact across traditional boundaries of rank, assignment status, and civilian versus military distinctions. Coffee conversations in base dining facilities now include contractor personnel as valued colleagues rather than invisible support staff. Fitness center interactions reflect genuine camaraderie based on shared commitment to mission success rather than artificial divisions created by uniform differences. The medical community has particularly embraced the lessons learned, establishing mentorship programs that pair experienced civilian medical professionals with active duty personnel seeking to expand their expertise. Emergency response protocols throughout the region now include provisions for utilizing qualified civilian personnel during crisis situations, recognizing that expertise transcends employment status when lives depend on competent action. In her small apartment each evening, Vivian Carter helps her daughter with homework, prepares dinner, and maintains the stable family routine that remains her highest priority. The quiet satisfaction of domestic accomplishment provides counterbalance to professional recognition, reminding her that success encompasses multiple dimensions beyond career advancement or institutional validation. Emma's progress in school, her growing confidence and curiosity, her developing sense of integrity and service represent achievements that matter more than any professional accolade or military decoration. Their evening conversations often touch on themes of service, competence, and personal responsibility without explicitly referencing the dramatic events that changed base operations. Emma learns through daily example that excellence requires consistent effort regardless of external recognition, that helping others creates meaning beyond personal benefit, and that choosing family priorities over career advancement represents strength rather than limitation. The recognition and opportunities emerging from that dramatic evening provide satisfaction and meaningful contribution, but they serve her deeper commitment to raising her daughter with love, stability, and the knowledge that competent service creates value regardless of formal recognition or institutional position. Weekend activities include base family events where Emma interacts with military children, whose parents have learned to appreciate diverse forms of service and contribution. The relationships formed through these interactions demonstrate how institutional culture change affects entire communities when implemented authentically and sustained consistently. The balance she has achieved between professional contribution and personal priorities demonstrates that success can be defined many ways, and that the most meaningful achievements often involve service that transcends individual advancement in favor of contributions that benefit others while honoring personal values and family commitments. Her example influences other military families struggling with similar challenges of balancing career ambitions with family responsibilities, showing that creative solutions exist when individuals remain true to their core values while seeking ways to contribute meaningfully to their communities. Financial stability provided by her contractor position, combined with professional satisfaction from expanded medical and assessment duties, creates sustainable equilibrium that serves both institutional needs and family requirements. The arrangement proves that innovative personnel policies can benefit everyone involved when organizations demonstrate genuine commitment to recognizing and accommodating diverse life circumstances. At Naval Station Norfolk, the morning reveille continues sounding at 0600 hours as it has for decades. But the base awakens each day to a reality fundamentally improved by the recognition that human capabilities deserve respect and proper utilization regardless of current position, assignment status, or apparent background. The flag ceremonies now carry additional meaning as symbols of inclusion and recognition for all who serve the mission, whether in uniform or civilian clothes, whether in leadership positions or support roles. Visitors to the base notice subtle but significant differences in how personnel interact, how respect flows in multiple directions, rather than simply following traditional hierarchical patterns, and how genuine appreciation for diverse contributions creates stronger community bonds. The changes have attracted positive attention from military leadership at national levels, leading to broader implementation of similar policies throughout all service branches. The lesson endures. Competence serves best when organizations recognize and value all available capabilities in service of shared mission accomplishment and mutual respect for human dignity and professional service. This understanding now guides leadership development throughout the naval community, ensuring that future commanders understand their responsibility to identify and nurture excellence wherever it exists within their sphere of influence.
The stories end here, but the journey continues. Many new episodes are waiting for you. And if you enjoy, please take a moment to like, subscribe to our EV Story channel, and turn on the bell. See you in the next story.